Our top focus at this hour. Now, President Biden has announced a first tranche of sanctions against Russia for recognizing two breakaway regions of Ukraine as the West continues its efforts to stop Moscow from what they fear is a full-scale invasion. After weeks of warning that Russia was going to invade, President Joe Biden, speaking at the White House, said categorically that Russia sending troops to regions of Donetsk and Luhansk was the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors? This is a flagrant violation of international law and demands a firm response from the international community. He's setting up a rationale to take more territory by force, in my view. And if we listened to his speech last night, and many of you did, I know, he's setting up a rationale to go much further. This is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, as he indicated and asked permission to be able to do from his Duma.
Now, Biden's sanctions target Russia's two state-owned banks that the U.S. says are key to Russia's defense sector. They will no longer be able to do business in the United States or access the global financial system. Now, 5 Russian elites and their family members have also been sanctioned. All 5 of them directly benefited from their connections to the Kremlin. This includes Sergei Kiriyenko, a former Prime Minister of Russia. President Biden warned that Russia may face additional sanctions if it continues its aggression, while the U.S. does not intend to send any troops to Ukraine. The U.S. has authorized forces already stationed in Europe to move to Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Tuesday cancelled his meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, which had been planned to be held on Thursday. Remember, Blinken had said that the meeting would be held in Russia if Russia did not invade Ukraine.
Last week, I agreed to meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov this week, on February 24th, to discuss our country's respective concerns about European security, but only if Russia did not invade Ukraine. Now that we see the invasion is beginning, and Russia has made clear its wholesale rejection of diplomacy, it does not make sense to go forward with that meeting at this time.
The United States has maintained that doors to diplomacy would always remain open, but this would involve Russia first pulling back its troops as a sign of de-escalation. The White House on Tuesday dismissed any meeting between Biden and Putin for the time being.
At this point, that is certainly not in the plans.
And what would it take to get that conversation back to the table, to reconsider a meeting between the two leaders?
Well, de-escalation. That's what it would take.
How do you define that?
De-escalation means moving troops. It means de-escalating from what the steps they continue to take on a daily basis appear to be.
Now, Western powers have been warning for months that Russia was preparing to invade Ukraine. Russia previously denied these allegations, however, and said it only wanted security guarantees that NATO would stop expanding eastwards and further ban Ukraine from joining its military alliance. However, both of these demands were rejected by the United States. And for more on this, our WION correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Take a look.
Facing mounting pressure from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, U.S. President Joe Biden on Tuesday said that the United States will be imposing sanctions on Russian sovereign debt, Russian elites and financial institutions in response to Russia's deployment of troops in eastern Ukraine. He also called it, quote, the start of an invasion. The U.S. president also acknowledged that the recent sanctions against Russia would mean higher gas prices for the American people and said that he pledged that he would work to limit the financial impact on average families. While the president made clear that these are an initial set of sanctions, and what comes next depends on Vladimir Putin's next move in Ukraine and beyond, many are wondering whether or not the White House has moved the goalposts after for months saying that it would impose hard-hitting, unprecedented sanctions against Russia should the country decide to move into Ukraine. Even Joe Biden seemed to acknowledge that these penalties would have little meaning for Vladimir Putin and basically stopping him from launching a wide-scale attack against Ukraine. And this was his quote: "We still believe that Russia is posed to go much further in launching a massive military attack against Ukraine." He went on by saying, "I hope we're wrong about that." Joe Biden also said that he would continue to provide defensive assistance to Ukraine. That announcement was welcomed by the Ukrainian foreign minister, who's visiting Washington, and acknowledged that in a press conference with his U.S. counterpart, Antony Blinken. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State said that that meeting that he was planning to have with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, on Thursday will be canceled. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.